to have a segment that we call the Fantasy Reaper, where he comes in and he tells us exactly who he's going to get rid of. Reaper, first of all, can you tell us why you do this?
I do it for the kids, Johnny. For the kids. The last time you saw me, I was taking down the GOAT. I'm gonna go after his teammate. I'm talking about Leonard Fatbutt. Leonard Joseph Fournette III. Dude showed up to camp fat. When he got on the scale, it said to be continued. He was arrested at LAX just last week, Johnny, for possessing 10 pounds of butt crack. I can't believe you just said that because my new nickname for Lenny is Layoff Lenny because he ain't got no fucking job, Johnny.
Oh, God, that's fantastic.
Autumn is approaching, and that can only mean one thing: fantasy football. Lucky for you, you are right where you need to be. So sit back, relax, and turn up the volume on your streaming device. Johnny Ballgame, Sir Poops-a-Lot, and the Fantasy Reaper are about to deliver humor and fantasy gold at the same time. Crush your opponent with a smile. It's Fantasy Sports Island.
Welcome back. It's Fantasy Sports Island.
What's up, Chuckles?
What's going on? Johnny Wesley Ballgame the Third.
Yes, sir. Hello. How we doing, Reap?
We are good. You can catch John at John Espel 85 on Twitter.
Tweet
at
me.
him.
At me.
I am Chuck Bishop, the Fantasy Reaper. You can get me at the Fantasy Reaper on Twitter. And you can at me as well.
At him.
At me. Welcome to Fantasy Sports Island. It is the show that helps you dominate your fantasy sports league. Fantasy football to be exact, Johnny.
Yeah, that's kind of what we do. It's kind of the thing.
It's kind of the thing. So last week, if you were on if you caught the show, you saw that we did our Dynasty rookie rankings for your Dynasty drafts that are coming up. Well, now it's time to get real and start talking about redraft leagues, Johnny. And today we're going to do our top wide receiver rankings.
I'm partial to this position. I played this position when I played football. I love me some receivers, and I'm excited for the show.
Oh, this is when it gets real. When we start doing those rankings for redraft leagues, it is fun. We're going to have some banter today. So, we're on YouTube. We're on Rumble as well. Fantasy Sports Island in your search engine, and you'll find us. But for the next hour, sit back, have a pina colada, enjoy the show, because we're about to get started right now. And we always get started with our news and notes. So, John, let's go over those real quick.
Got it.
All right.
Let's do it.
Los Angeles Chargers running back Austin Eckler, who had requested a trade, reworked his deal with some added incentives on Tuesday. He's expected to attend minicamp on June 13th after the team added $1.75 million in incentives to his deal. So he gets to stay for one more year. He's happy now. Tell me what you think this means for Austin Eckler in fantasy football.
I really like this for them. Here's my worry now. This feels like one of those situations where the running back ends up getting hurt. You know what I mean? Like, they gave him all these incentives, and congratulations. We're going to give you a little bit more money. I don't know, if they're attainable incentives. I haven't seen anything on that. I think it was a good idea for Los Angeles to go, look, we know you're important. We know you're valuable. We want to give you a little bit more. And if you would go out and earn these, what a good thing for us, what a good thing for you. So it was the right move. And I'm glad for Austin Eckler that he's got a little bit of that. I don't know how much of it was guaranteed. I think they're all incentive laden.
It's incentive laden and it's participation incentives. So it's not he has to hit certain benchmarks or anything. He just needs to play. If he stays healthy, he's going to get that money.
Oh, that's good. All right, that's good.
I think it's a good deal for the Chargers. It does tell them that this is probably the last year, but it is a contract year for Austin Eckler. And for the first time, John, I'm just going to say it. I like Austin Eckler this year.
I'm looking for wood to knock on. You have literally just jinxed him. My God, man. He has been doing as well as he has the last 2 years to spite you. And now you're on his team. You're on Team Eckler. Great. Thanks a lot.
And we'll get to that when we do our running back rankings in a show down the line here. But I'll just give you a little hint. There's no running backs that I trust from last year. I mean, they're all question marks. So
every running back's a question mark, yeah.
You know, ironically enough, Austin Eckler has been the most sturdy running back over the last couple seasons, the most dependable.
Right. Yeah, that's why I'm scared this year. That's why he terrifies me.
All right. Kyle Shanahan says that quarterback Shenanigans. His quarterback Brock Purdy will begin throwing for the first time next week, which is good news, John, because they thought he was going to have the total, Tommy John surgery on his elbow. They did kind of like a half procedure, from my understanding, which makes his return quicker. And he's already about to throw passes for the first time. But
Trey Lance went to camp with Mahomes this week, or went to, an off-premise thing. Hired the quarterback coach that Mahomes uses, and he was talking about how the guy, it's now clicking for him all of a sudden. So, I mean, that's great news if that's the case. Brock Purdy fans might be upset about it, but I think people who are San Francisco fans and saw all the capital they gave away to get Trey Lance would probably be really happy to know that Trey Lance is actually improving that much. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and I'm not a huge fan of Brock Purdy. He doesn't have a great arm. He needs a perfect kind of pocket. And basically Shanahan needs to scheme up the receivers to get open for him to be successful, because if it's not successful, if the receivers aren't getting a step on their defenders, Brock Purdy's not going to hit them. So he doesn't have that kind of arm to do that. Whereas Trey Lance kind of does. And if they can unlock his talent, he's the guy that has the worlds of talent. And I think he's going to outright win that job if he shows anything.
I do too.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Brock Purdy's not going to be ready for the beginning of camp. And I think Trey Lance is going to go in there, and I think he's never going to give it up. And they're going to remember,
let's hope,
wait a minute, Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant, and Trey Lance was a first-round draft pick that we spent a lot of capital for. Wonder which one we should try to use more.
Exactly. They gave up a bunch of first-round picks to get Trey Lance. You know they want to make this work. They don't have any trade partners to get rid of him where they can get anything of value in return. So you root for the guy. Also,
and
for
listen, it's Frisco. They're going to use all three of those quarterbacks. I mean, Sam Darnold's going to get time this year. They're snake bitten. I've never seen a team that goes through quarterbacks as much as the San Francisco 49ers. So it's good that they've got all three of those guys on the team.
That's so true. Okay. Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers sat out today's practice with a calf strain that he suffered in yesterday's practice. But it's just a calf strain. He seems to be all right. It's a minor thing. In the same practice, Alan Lazard also got banged up, missed some practice time, but actually ended up coming back to practice. So just a little bit of scare in the New York Jets camp. But, I mean, ultimately, he's a 40-year-old man, and 40-year-old things are happening to his 40-year-old body, right? It's not a big deal. As long as he doesn't tear his
not
Achilles.
Really used to coming into voluntary camps anyway, because he never does this time of year. So his body's probably going, what are you doing? What is this? What's happening with all this? Why are we doing that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, having said that, what do we think for Aaron Rodgers, his fantasy prospects this year? Where do you feel like he's going to end up in the rankings?
I'm so high on Rodgers this year, and the last couple of years I've been down on him, and I'm not. I feel like he's going to have a new motivation. He's got a really great set of weapons there in New York. I think the Jets, I might pick them to win that division. Is what I'm telling you.
It's going to be a tough division.
Very tough division, right? I mean, you got Buffalo, you got Miami. Hell, the Patriots always find a way to be in it. So I think it's going to be the toughest division in football. Actually, AFC North is also going to be one of the toughest divisions in football. So AFC, let's just face it, has an unbelievable plethora of talent. But I love Aaron Rodgers with the Jets this year. I love him.
I don't know if the yards are going to be there, John, because I think they still want to be a running team. They still want to pound Breece Hall.
I don't know that Breece Hall is going to be ready for it. I don't know that he'll be ready.
Breece Hall will be ready. He's not ready just yet, but he's almost there. He's going to be ready for camp. And his injury wasn't as severe as Javonte Williams. It was a clean tear of his ACL. It's been repaired fully. I'm very confident in his talent. He's young. He's going to bounce back. I mean, you once saw AP. Remember Adrian Peterson coming
Mm-hmm.
off a torn ACL? Nobody wanted to touch him. You took him kind of early, and he rushed for 2,000 yards.
Yeah. He went crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like Breece Hall is young enough to where he could do something like that. So, but I just don't think that the yardage will be there for Rodgers. Like, I don't see him throwing for more than maybe 4,000 yards. The touchdown should be there, though, John.
Yeah, I think so too. Gosh, I don't know. I actually think that the yards might be there.
Well, we'll see see if Salas opens things up.
I will say this: I am targeting him in at least a couple of leagues this year.
Thanks.
Maybe not as my number one, but
sure, you can get him as your QB2, and he might end up being your QB1. So
yes.
All right. The Broncos released veteran place kicker Brandon McManus after 9 seasons with the team. We don't really talk about kickers on the show except to tease, one of our co-hosts, Royce, who's never on the show anyways. Hey, yeah. Royce. Yeah. But
he was our co-host a couple of years ago. You might remember him. He used to do a funny bit.
Yeah.
We miss you, Royce.
Yeah, we miss you, buddy. Do we care that Brandon McManus is not on the team? Does this affect anything for you?
I think he was the last of the Super Bowl. The last person on the Broncos team to play in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think he's still a great kicker, and if I was Dallas, I'd be calling him. I'd have him on. He'd be coming in because I think he's still a good kicker.
All right. And last one I wanted to touch on just a little bit. A new rule was passed by the NFL owners, which will place the ball on the 25-yard line automatically if the team that's receiving the kick signals for a fair catch and catches it in the field of play. So this can't be like where they catch it in the end zone, although it's the same thing. They can put it at the 25. Right. But if the ball's kicked to, say, the 5-yard line, you can wave your hand and the ball is automatically placed. The play's obviously blown dead, and then the ball's placed at the 25-yard. And this is they're trying to reduce more concussions. So let me just ask you, John, when the hell are we just going to eliminate kickoffs?
I think it's coming, right? I mean, there's not a lot of reason for it now. Now it's just wind sprints. I mean, that's all it is. It's just in-game conditioning because they got to sprint down there to cover it, only for them to call fair catch. So I don't know. I think they're bit by bit taking all the actual fun out of this game. So.
And I don't know if you've noticed how the XFL does it. The NFL is actually watching that and talking about that. That's a possible thing they're going to do in the future, which is, they're not the kicking team and the returning team. None of the blockers are allowed to move until the ball is received on the kickoff. They're also put a certain distance closer to each other so they don't have that running start. So the NFL is actually monitoring this, and I feel like they're going to implement this very soon.
I actually don't hate that as much. Like, at least there's some opportunity for something to happen on that. This is literally just, I mean, why would you not, unless you had cleared nothing in front of you, why would you not fair catch that and start at the 25 every time? That's
so 10 years ago, the NFL changed the rule where if you kick it into the end zone, instead of a touchback at the 20, it goes to the 25 on the kickoff. And so a lot of teams learned, hey, if we kick the ball really high and dump it inside the 5-yard line and force them to return it, they'll get better field position defensively. So, and teams were starting to get good at it. So now, I feel like every team's just going to wave their hands. So
yeah.
Right. On to the main event, John, and this is
on to the next one.
We've been waiting for.
Yes, sir.
Ranking season has begun. And
hey, can we address the elephant in the room real quick for people who are looking at my neck and going, "What the hell's wrong with that guy?" For any of you who didn't see the show last week, the day after our show last week, I had surgery to replace a couple of discs in my neck, and they went in through the front. It will look better eventually. But yeah, so I had that last Thursday. So here we are. It's almost a week later, and I'm having a great time. I'm fine.
And he's here for you.
And thank you to the American Dawn, this group that sent me a shirt, which I thought was really cool. You can see them on Instagram. So it was really nice.
Oh, nice. Hopefully they are subscribers of our show.
Of course they are.
By the way, if you like fantasy football and you like rankings, hit that like button. Subscribe. Because we do this every week, and you want to hit that notification bell so every time we come out with a new show, you will be notified.
Yes.
That's all we ask.
That's all we ask. That's all we ask. It's not that much. And you know why you should give it to us? You should do that for us? Because we invented what, Chuck? Tell them what we invented.
We invented the PPR.
You're welcome.
Yeah. If you play PPR, believe it or not, we invented that 25
Literally.
years ago. So
Literally
you're welcome.
invented it. Yeah.
Literally. No joke. All right. On to the main event. Let's
do it.
do our consensus wide receiver rankings for the 2023 season.
This includes Tony, who Sir Poops a lot, who's not with us today. Tony's off handling his business for a little bit, and he'll be back with us hopefully next week or the week after that.
All right. Let's do it the fun way. Let's start at the top, and then we'll work our way down.
Interesting.
So, number one, it's no surprise to the industry, is not my number one, but our consensus number one is Justin Jefferson, Minnesota Vikings. Had the breakout year last year. Johnny picked him number one overall in one of the leagues, and obviously was a good pick.
Yeah.
I mean, what's not to like about Justin Jefferson? I mean,
nothing. And Adam Thielen's gone. So they'll have KJ Osborne and then the new kid that they
Addison
that they drafted. So I don't know that you're going to be able to key on Justin Jefferson because you've got so much talent elsewhere. So I think he's going to have just as good a year this year, maybe better.
Yeah, I mean, could he do better? Sure, he probably could. Normally, after a breakout year, I like to stay away from guys because they normally don't put together back-to-back seasons like that. So he's not my number one for that reason. But, I mean, he's the safest play. I mean, Justin Jefferson has been ridiculous the last 2 years. He had a great rookie year as well. I don't see anything changing in that offense. It's the same group. Minus Thielen, they add Addison in the slot. I like it. Like you said, they can't key on Jefferson because they do need to pay attention to the speed on the other side with Osborne and over the middle with Addison. So,
and they got what's his face?
Hawkinson, yeah.
Hawkinson, yeah.
Hawkenpooper, yeah.
Hawkenpfeffer.
Hawkenstein, yeah. Yeah, I mean, they have weapons all over, so you really can't double Justin Jefferson too much because if you do, they'll hurt you in other ways. So, and Dalvin Cook looks like he's on his way out. That's one less, mouth to feed there.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so number two is my number one, and that is Jamar Chase from Cincinnati. I just feel like third year, it's the breakout year. If he stays healthy, I think he's going to be the guy that pops and has the best season at the wide receiver position. I mean, why would you argue that, John?
So I have him as 3. I didn't have him as 2. My number 2 is probably the next one up in the consensus, I imagine. The reason I didn't pick Jamar as 2 is simply because T. Higgins is still there. Boyd is still there. They got a new tight end, Irv Smith. Jr.
Yeah.
And Burrow spreads the ball. It's not like he keys on one person. So I agree. Jamar is going to get his. He'll be the number one receiver on that team. He's going to be in the top 5 by the time it's all said and done. But the only reason I didn't choose him and the reason I chose my number 2 over him is because my number 2 is really the only one there and he gets a lot of passes when he's not hurt. So,
I really can't wait to see what the Bengals do this year. I feel like it's going to be a huge year for their offense.
I do too.
I mean, and that just bodes well for Jamar Chase because he is their deep threat.
They're adding linemen. They're adding really good linemen to this team, which is what they needed. So, I love the Bengals this year.
All right. Number 3 is Cooper Kupp. I mean, Cooper Kupp was on pace to do almost exactly what he did the year before last year until he got injured. And yet here we are doubting him a little bit and dropping him to 3rd. The only reason we are doubting him even slightly is just because he's coming off an injury and he injured his ankle. He should be 100%. The Rams are still probably going to suck and play from behind, which means they throw a lot. I mean, Cooper Kupp could be the number 1 wide receiver, John.
Easily. I honestly think anybody in our top 5 could be the number 1 wide receiver by the time it's over.
I mean, sure. Technically, anyone could. Yeah, I feel like Cooper Kupp is a very solid pick. I actually kind of like him more than I did last year, simply because he did get injured, and I feel like it's his turn to have a healthy season. But
he'll be hungrier this year. Yeah, I do too.
And they really didn't go out and get any wide receivers to be on the other side. So they're really good. You know how Stafford
they're
just
hoping Jefferson gets. Yeah, they're hoping Jefferson gets well and does better even than last year. I think so.
Yeah,
they're Jefferson. They're Jefferson.
Van Jefferson.
Van
Yeah,
Jefferson.
we knew what you meant, Johnny. We knew what you meant. All right, number 4, Tyreek Hill.
Yes, sir.
Right about where he finished last year. I think he was wide receiver 3 last year, so very close. What do you like about Tyreek Hill this year?
Speed kills. Listen, if Tua stays healthy, Tyreek ends up in the top 3. That's all I'm going to say. Only reason I have him out of my top 3 is I'm not sure Tua stays healthy. And so I don't know if Mike White, who's now the backup quarterback down there, can give you the same numbers that a Tua can. So
interesting. I'm going to tell you why I don't like Tyreek Hill at 4, just for this year. I feel like Jalen Waddle is going to emerge a little bit more and kind of get a little bit more targets next year. I really like Jalen Waddle. He is a stud. He played college ball with Tua. They have chemistry. And honestly, when they were healthy, all of them, Tua did lean more towards Jalen Waddle and less towards Tyreek Hill at times. Not always, but at times. You could see it. And then when Waddle was banged up, that's when they really leaned on Tyreek Hill. So if they're all things equal, if they're healthy this year, I still like Hill better than Waddle, but I think Waddle's going to step up a little bit more, take a little bit of targets away from Tyreek.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. It's one of the best tandem. I mean, when you talk Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, like you're looking at these receivers in the top 20, and you've got at least 3 or 4 pairs of receivers from the same team in the top 20, right? So you could have easily said, I think Waddle will be a little bit better than Tyreek. I don't think so this year. I think this is going to be one more year before that happens. I think Tyreek's is going to be on a tear this year. And
Tyreek has said that not this year, but next year will be his final season, and he's going to retire. So he's going to want to go out with a bang. So I love Tyreek Hill. I had him last year. He was fantastic. I got nothing against him. I just feel like they're going to spread it out just a little bit more because towards the end of the season, Tyreek got a little banged up too. So I feel like they need to distribute the ball a little bit better. And don't forget they got Devon A-Chain in the backfield. And they're going to use him, folks. All right, number 5, Davante Adams. Steady Eddie Davante Adams. He does it with, Rodgers. He does it with Carr. I think he's going to do it with Garoppolo.
Me too. I have him right there at 5 too. In my own personal rankings, I think he's one of the most complete receivers in the NFL. He can run every route. He's fast. He's big. He's strong. Some of the best hands in the league.
He separates.
Yeah. So again, I honestly think anyone from 1 through 5, I could easily see as your number 1 wide receiver for the year, and I won't be surprised.
Yeah. I don't know how much of a drop-off it is from Carr to Garoppolo, to be honest.
I don't either. I don't know that it is.
I don't know what it is either because Garoppolo does one thing very well, and that's he throws accurate passes. And if you throw the ball in any general area, Davante Adams is going to go get it.
Sure is.
He sure is.
And he can throw on stride, which when Devontae gets it in stride, there's very few people stopping him. So
yeah, it just helps with his yak, right? His yards after catch. A guy like Garoppolo who puts it right on the money versus a guy like Carr that we've seen be inaccurate at times. Yeah. It could even be better for Davante Adams. And the Raiders might need to lean on him more this year.
Right.
Here's another thing too. I've heard him complain. He's a little bit unhappy with the direction of the Raiders. I think he thought that Carr was going to be there a couple years. It was like a 2-year plan, and then they kind of dumped Carr early, so he's a little upset. But that just makes him angry, and he's going to want to prove to the world that it really doesn't matter. He's that good, and I think that's what's going to happen.
I think so too. I think at the end of the year we're going to be looking at him at the top 5 and go, yeah, we know.
Yeah. No. And number 5 sounds just right for Davante Adams.
It does.
Just right. All right. Number 6. There was some debate amongst the 3 of us on this guy. Some of us had him lower. I had him a little higher. Stephon Diggs, Buffalo. And the reason why is simple. Every other year, Johnny. Every other year, Stephon Diggs goes ballistic.
I know.
And you knew it.
A couple of good years.
But last year was a down year for him in comparison to the year before. Not much.
And I knew it was going to be. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just like how consistent he is. I mean,
It's just so good, man.
he's so good. Josh Allen's gonna lean on him like he always does. I don't care if they brought in, Dalton Kincaid to be the slot receiver at tight end. I don't care if Gabe Davis is on the other side. When the going gets tough, he goes to Stephon Diggs. We saw it in the playoffs again this year. He's just so consistent. How can you not like Diggs?
And he's going to run less this year. The quarterback is, and so he's going to want to throw more.
Supposedly,
yeah, he's going to get it to Diggs. Diggs is going to get his.
He's going to get his another 100 catch season, probably
Easily.
8 to 10 touchdowns. You're good to go.
1,100, 1,200 yards.
Yeah, good to go. All right.
Yes, please.
It doesn't get any more consistent than Stephon Diggs. All right, on to the next. Number 7, we have CD Lamb. Now, a lot of people were disappointed in CD Lamb last year, but when you go back and look at the rankings and what he did, he was actually pretty freaking good.
Yeah.
He was really good.
He was.
If you picked him late in the first last year, you did all right.
Sure was.
And I assume he might go in late first round again this year.
Yeah.
A lot of people are taking him over Stephon Diggs, John. Would you do that?
No. No. I don't think I would. I think I'd take Diggs before I would take him. But I also have a couple of receivers ranked above him that we haven't gotten to yet. So CD for me was 9.
Yeah.
So
let me check what he was for me. I had him a little lower. I had him at 8. Okay. So Tony had him at 7. Tony was the guy that liked CD, kind of right where we ranked him. I mean, Tony nailed it. So CD, I think he's also consistent. He's going to catch his 100 balls. It's the touchdowns, Johnny. If he gets more touchdowns, he might end up in the top 5.
I mean, he was in the top 5 last year. CD ended up number 5.
He did end up number 5, but if you look at points per game, he did not end up in the top 5. Mm-hmm. But that's what I'm saying. When you look back at him, he had a good season, and a lot of people just kind of slept on him.
Yeah, because he had a lot of single-digit games, then he had crazy-ass 50-point games. So,
yeah, let's hope he's more consistent. I'm a little worried about this. Dallas's approach this year. They want to run the ball more, scored less quickly, like have the prolonged drives. So does that mean they're going to pass less? Probably a little bit, but I mean, who else are they throwing the ball to, Johnny?
Nobody that I know of. No, thank you. I don't want anybody else on that team. I mean, actually, that's not true. Brandon Cooks might actually.
Brandon Cooks came over. He'll be a deep threat for sure. Yeah. And Joey Gallup, he says he feels better than he has since he tore his ACL. Yeah. So okay. Yeah. This is all just BS coming in the early preseason. Right. Yeah. We don't know what to believe, but CeeDee Lamb will be there at the end. So
yeah.
Number 8, AJ Brown, Philadelphia, because that's exactly where he finished last year. AJ was, he's not going to catch 100 balls, but he's going to get a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns. Johnny,
I love him. I actually think he's going to have a better year this year. He's going to have a full year in the system. Remember, he got traded at draft time last year. It was kind of a quick transition. I think another year having been in there, I actually think he finishes higher. I had him ranked as number 6.
Yes, you did. Yeah. I probably had him a little lower. You had him 6. I had him 10. And Tony had him 9. So, not too far apart.
Well, within 4.
So let's debate a little bit. You have Skinny Batman on one side, AJ Brown on the other. Is Devontae Smith? It's his 3rd year, John. Is this the year he breaks out? And if he does that take away from AJ Brown?
Maybe, or maybe it's 2,000-yard receivers. Just like I think Miami's going to have 2,000-yard receivers. Just like I think Cincinnati's going to have 2,000-yard receivers. Yeah. No, I like I said, I've got Skinny Batman at 15 on my list, so I have high expectations for the Philadelphia offense this year.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. AJ Brown, number 8. So now let's go on to number 9, and I think I propped him up a little bit because I had ranked him pretty high. That's Jalen Waddle. the other Miami receiver. We touched on him a little bit. I think this is his third year, breakout time.
Where'd you put him in yours?
So for me, Jalen Waddle came in at 7, right ahead of CeeDee Lamb.
Okay. Yeah.
I think people are sleeping on. People slept on Jalen Waddle last year, and I think they're doing it again this year.
Really?
Yeah, Jalen Waddle was selected in like the 5th or 6th round of our draft. And man, that was a steal because he was a top 10 wide receiver.
Yeah.
But he gets overshadowed by what Tyreek Hill did. But Jalen Waddle, if you forget, before he got hurt last year, he had a couple monster games. We're talking 10 catches, 170 yards, a couple touchdowns. I mean, just going ballistic.
Yeah, he's another one that's a little inconsistent, though, right? Like he'll give you 2 weeks in a row with single digits, and then he'll come home with a 50-pointer, a 36-pointer, 40-pointer. So yeah, he's a little inconsistent. But man, if he can get consistent, if he can get that production up, I mean, he finished number 7 last year in our league with that kind of inconsistency. Imagine, like you say, year 3, it's always the breakout year for the wide receivers. The year they get it, like everything finally clicks with them. Mm-hmm. He's going to be scary this year, I think.
And, let's not forget he missed a game or 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he still put up those numbers. So this guy's a stud.
Yeah, I think he got taken out of a couple of games early. Like he doesn't actually have any blanks, but he had like a 1.9 and a 5.1.
Yeah, he got injured and missed most of the game. That's right.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay, number 9 is Jalen Waddle. All right, number 10. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah. Daddy loves Amon St. Brown. I had him last year. I know you do. I love him. I love him again this year. Why not? He's top 10. He's right there at the border of a wide receiver 1, right, Johnny?
Yeah, I've got him at number 8. I really like him. And I actually think he's going to be better this year than he was last year.
Tell me why.
I think Goff started to get it more toward the end of last year. Like, we really started to see him play really good quarterback football toward the end of last year. I think the receivers around are still okay, right? And then you've got what's-his-face who's going to miss 6 more games because he's suspended now.
Yeah,
so he's not going to be taking passes away from him.
Mm-hmm.
I really like him on. And I think he's also, I think it's his 3rd year too, right? Is he also a 3rd year receiver this year?
3rd year, yes, sir.
I mean, my gosh, think of the talent. That was a hellaciously great draft class for wide receivers when you think about the 3rd year folks that are in this group.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the list right now. You got Jamar Chase, you got Jalen Waddle, you got Jefferson, you got Amon St. Brown, and T. Higgins too, right? No, T. Higgins
is 4, yeah.
But we did have Devontae Smith.
Isn't AJ Brown also?
Yep.
Wow. Damn.
No, this is AJ Brown's 4th year. But
4th year.
He was the year before. But yeah, I mean, like, it was a great draft. So
yeah,
a lot of juice in that draft.
Juice.
The Lions want to run the ball, John. And so
yeah.
But they don't have anyone else to throw to.
I know. That's how I feel. They're going to throw a lot to Jahmyr Gibbs, who I actually also really like this year. I think he's going to catch a lot of balls. But I think St. Brown ends up easily in your top 10.
Well, they also lost Chark. Chark's gone.
Yeah.
He was a big producer in that offense last year for them.
So
they're going to have to rely on him on St. Brown, and he's really good at the intermediate routes over the middle. So
yeah. I mean, he's no Equinemius, but he's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Number 11, Garrett Wilson of the Jets.
Yes.
Help prop him up on this one. I really like Garrett Wilson, Johnny.
I like him too. I do too. I mean, I have him right at 11, so that's exactly where I have him, but I love him this year.
Yeah.
Not only because I'm an Ohio State guy. I know everybody calls me a homer. I get that comment a lot. I love my Ohio State players. This guy's just a complete receiver, man. He's so good. And now think about how good he did last year with nobody throwing to him.
With a 50-year-old quarterback, a guy that likes to sleep with everyone's mom, and Mike
those
White.
Aren't the same person, by the way.
Yeah, Mike White. Sample size Mike White. You give him one game, he's great, but you make him play 2 or 3 in a row, and he's not so good.
Not so great, yeah. Yeah. I love some Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers kind of. Like, I feel like Garrett Wilson could be a Devontae Adams type year this year with Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, if he was a top 3 receiver, that would not shock me in the least.
Me neither.
Not at
Me
all.
neither. Yeah.
The quarterback upgrade is so massive.
Significant.
It's the biggest upgrade at quarterback we've seen in several years at
Yeah.
the quarterback position.
And I know they brought in a lot of receivers, but nobody's really going to challenge Wilson for the number 1 spot, right? Like Corey Davis, I still think is the second best receiver on the team, and he was already on the team. So, Lazard's not going to scare anybody. He's not going to take that many reps away, not that many catches. Cobb, I'm going to be surprised if he actually makes the team. If he does, it'll just be because Rodgers wants him on there.
Exactly. There's no one to lean on here other than Garrett Wilson. And when Rodgers likes a receiver and realizes how much talent that receiver has, you've seen it over and over again. He peppers him. He's going to pepper this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Number 12, your boy T. Higgins, Cincinnati. The other side of Jamar Chase. So Chase gets a lot of attention. That leaves single coverage for a beast of a man in T. Higgins. And he just comes down with touchdowns, Johnny.
I saw an article this week that was like the most undervalued players on each team, and T. Higgins was the one that was named for Cincinnati.
Absolutely.
He's so valuable. He catches the ball. He catches everything that's thrown to him. Just so good and so quiet. Just does his job, goes in and goes to work, unassuming. He's definitely my kind of player. I love him to death. I loved him before Jamar got there. So it's cool to see those two work together and that whole group keep growing. And I think they're just going to be beasts this year.
I agree. And T. Higgins is at a little bit of a discount, just because he was injured.
You can get him in the 6th, 7th round in a lot of drafts. Like, I think people are going to forget about him a little bit. They'll be like,
if you can get him in the 6th or 7th, John, you should sing hallelujah.
It's a steal. Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. But 5th round, yes.
Yeah, you might be right. We'll see how it falls.
I mean, in some home leagues, I'm sure maybe he falls to the 7th, but any league that has any talent whatsoever, 5th round.
Yeah.
And sooner.
Well, I will tell you this. He won't fall to the 6th round in our draft because he won't pass the 5th round between either of us.
We'll each take a half a share of him.
Yeah, or Tony, actually. Any of the 3 of us will take that man.
Absolutely. All right. So T. Higgins, we know, is very consistent. It's all about health for him. If he stays healthy and he plays, he's going to produce, folks. He's fantastic. All right. Number 13. This is for the value, John. My favorite wide receiver to get in all drafts this year. I'm
perking. You've piqued my interest.
Okay. And it's Chris Olave from New Orleans.
Yes. That's exactly where I have him ranked, and I completely agree with you.
I think people are sleeping on what this man did last year and how good he actually is. And they got a quarterback upgrade too, even though it's Carr, who I'm not a fan of. He is, I believe, better than Andy Dalton.
Yes.
And Jameis Winston.
You think he's an upgrade? Yeah, he's an upgrade for sure over those guys. I love Chris Olave this year. And I know Michael Thomas is supposedly going to come back and he can still be a 100-catch guy, blah, blah, blah. That's never going to happen. Chris Olave is the guy, and he is your number 1 wide receiver and will provide you with excellent value.
I'm going to tell you this right now. Watch the tape. Chris Olave is always freaking open.
Was like that in college, too. He was never covered. Ever.
Always open.
Yeah.
He reminds me.
Can you imagine?
He reminds me of Cooper Kupp, Johnny.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because he's always open.
Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave were on the same team in college.
And Jackson Smith and Jigba was the best of the 3 of them.
Yeah. And they didn't win the title that year. What are you doing? Anyway.
It wasn't because they didn't have a good offense, John. Let's just put it that way.
It was not. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Chris Olave. You can get him. You can get him in the 6th or 7th round, Johnny.
Yeah.
And that to me is
you can't.
music to my ear.
No, you can't.
No, I mean not in our league. Not in our league.
Yeah. No.
Number 14, Devontae Smith, Skinny Batman, on the other side of A.J. Brown. We think they're going to have 2 1,000-yard receivers.
Yep.
I'm going to say it right now, and you're going to disagree with me, and that's fine. I think Devontae Smith outproduces A.J. Brown this year in fantasy football.
I think that's cute. I think it's adorable. I really disagree with you there.
Of course you do.
Yeah. I don't. I don't see a world where AJ Brown doesn't get more receptions and more yards than Devontae. I think Devontae is going to get the big plays. He's going to get splash plays for sure. He's got such good speed. He gets open, all of that, and boy, you hit him in stride and he's gone. But so is AJ, and AJ is just a bigger target. He's more sturdy. And again, I think AJ is slightly more talented than Skinny Batman, Skinny Pete.
Talented is that's a loaded word. They're both super talented in different
for sure.
ways.
Yeah.
AJ Brown's bigger and stronger, and maybe even a little faster. But Devontae Smith is quicker, better hands.
Devontae Smith is smoother, right? Like Devontae Smith's
great route runner.
Breaks in and out. Yeah, I will give you that. I always feel like he's like a play away from getting broken in half.
People have been saying that since college, and he's holding up. I mean, he's holding up. All right, that's fine. So as long as he stays healthy, right?
Yeah.
And that holds true for our number 15 guy because he's ultra talented, but never seems to stay healthy. And that's Deebo Samuel, Briscoe. Also depends on the quarterback, John, because if it's Brock Purdy, I like Deebo. And if it's not Brock Purdy, I don't like Deebo. It's that simple.
I kind of feel the same way. Like, Brock will look for him and he'll use him and he'll pepper him and all of that. Whereas I don't know what the hell Trey Lance is going to be looking for or who he's going to be looking for, if he's going to be looking for anybody to throw to.
If it's Trey Lance, John, I feel like they run more of like a semi-option type offense, the RPOs,
Which
a little
means
bit more running.
Deebo will get more running plays, but not as many because he's got CMC back there. So it's not
exactly.
like,
Since
they don't
C-Mac
need to
came in
depend on
there,
him.
it's a different story. It's not like Deebo was getting a lot of carries once Christian McCaffrey got there.
Nor should he.
Nor should he. You're right. I mean, exactly. So I'm a little lukewarm on Deebo. I love the talent. I mean, I had Deebo in Dynasty, and it was a blast. I actually got off of him. I traded him, but it's not like I don't love the guy. He's fun to watch. He's a beast. He's hard to tackle. He's got great hands. All of that stuff. He's in an offense that there's so many mouths to feed, Johnny.
I know.
I mean, the volume is not going to be there.
No. I mean, I ranked him at 14, so obviously I'm ranking his talent, but he scares me. I will say it will take a lot for me to draft him.
He's very touchdown dependent. If he breaks off those long ones, those are fat. I mean, you get fat on those.
Sure.
But if he doesn't, he's very pedestrian.
Yeah.
He's not going to catch 10 balls. That ain't happening.
Not in that offense.
All right, that was number 15, and he's at a tie with Keenan Allen, who we also had at number 15 on the Chargers. Keenan Allen does it every year.
Way down on my list.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
We had him a little higher, so we propped him up to 15. Yeah. I like Keenan Allen because he's steady. When he's healthy, he's going to catch 100 balls, John.
Yeah. Sure
Nothing's changing. I don't care about Johnston on one side, Mike Williams on. I don't care because I know Keenan is going to be in the slot, and I know Sherbert's going to hit him.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Are you fearing an injury?
Yep. Sure am. He's just doing nothing but getting older, and he kind of slowed down toward the end of last year. He was not quite as steady Eddie as he usually is for me last year. Like last year was the first year I went, ooh, it's not. He kind of lost a step for me, and so I am. That's why I still think he's good. He's 22 for me. He's still starting wide receiver on most teams, but I'm just not as into him.
That's why I thought the Chargers were going to go after Jordan Addison. Would be the perfect replacement slot receiver for Keenan Allen after this year because Keenan Allen and Mike Williams contract blows up next year, and they're going to get cut, both of them.
Yep.
Unless they restructure, of course. But.
I think they'll save one of them. I don't think it's going to be Williams, though.
Okay. Fair enough. Then Johnson's the perfect replacement.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on. Number 17, Amari Cooper, Cleveland. And I'm not a fan of Amari Cooper. I've never have been. To me, he disappears in the worst times. He's a ghost at certain times. But when he plays at home, he's pretty freaking good, John.
Yeah. I didn't want to put him on the list, and then I ended up putting him exactly where we put him at 16. So
17.
Oh yeah, that's right. I have him at 16, but that's right.
Yeah, 17, close enough.
Close enough. He actually played pretty well last year. Like, it almost changed my mind a little bit about him last year. And with really shitty quarterback play.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really shitty quarterback play. Yep. So, in fact, he played his consistencies again. It's what drives you nuts with him. Like,
home is good, away he's terrible.
30, 28, 1. 20, 14, 10. 25, 6. 37, 16, 8, 6, 9,
he's a roller
13,
coaster.
35, 7. Yeah. So it just drives me nuts. Nuts, I tell you.
Yeah, so, I mean, draft him and play him in the home games and sit him in the road games, and you probably do pretty well, John.
Yeah, it's probably not a bad call.
Number 18 is a guy that's also a roller coaster ride, who I can't stand this guy. I think he's ultra talented, but he never, ever comes through. It's DK Metcalf. Seattle.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a guy ranked really high that I don't think you guys had ranked. Because I think he's going to have a monster year this year.
We're going to get to that, aren't we?
I think so. Hopefully we will.
Let's talk about DK Metcalf. So a lot of people, when they drafted Jackson Smith and Jigba, figured that he's going to take away targets from Tyler Lockett. I totally disagree. If anyone's going to lose targets in this offense, it's DK Metcalf, in my opinion.
Why so? Say more.
Because Tyler Lockett can run on the outside. He can run in the slot. They don't like to take him out on with two receiver sets. It's Tyler Lockett's, he's good. Yeah. DK Metcalf, he's a deep ball guy. That's it. And I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is all of the above. He can run deep. He can go over the middle. I think he's going to be the one that's going to take targets away from Metcalf. Just my opinion.
Is he the Justin Jefferson of this year?
He could be, but he's not set up that way. So with Justin Jefferson, there was a clear path to him being the number one wide receiver. Whereas in Seattle, the path is less clear.
3 years ago, Adam Thielen was an excellent receiver who was in our top 5 rankings. So.
But he wasn't a speed burner.
Yeah.
They have Metcalf on one side and Tyler Lockett on the other, and both are speedsters. All right? DK Metcalf is a beast. And they don't like to throw as much. They like to run the ball more. So is he set up to be like a Justin Jefferson?
He could be this year's Olave.
Yeah, he could be.
About it, right?
He could be.
Because going in with 2 veteran wide receivers, they had Thomas, they had Juice Landry. Olave was just supposed to be the sort of the third complement, and then ended up leading the team. Yeah. So I could see a scenario like that.
Okay. In a tie at number 18 with Metcalf was DeAndre Hopkins, who you're probably lower on.
I am.
But if you look at what he did per game after his suspension, he was top 10.
My low ranking of Hopkins, I had him at 24. I had him way lower. Mm-hmm. Is nothing to do with Hopkins and it's everything to do with the team that he plays. Yeah.
In my opinion, though, he is kind of quarterback proof. He produces with any quarterback. He's proven that over the years. I think they don't have anybody there, John, and so they're going to have to rely on him.
But they don't even have even Easy. He's not going to start the season.
No, he's not. It's going to be 38-year-old Colt McCoy.
Yeah, you're really selling me on him. Let me get Nuke in there.
But Nuke did really well with Colt McCoy. So.
I actually think he does do pretty well with him. So
yeah. All right, number 20, Calvin Ridley.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys didn't have him there. I had him at 17. I had him a little higher. I feel a bit like a battered husband on this, right? Because I've been hurt by him.
Yes, you have.
I've been hurt, but my God, I can't stop thinking about how much better I think he's going to be this year and how good I think he's going to be.
Keep talking, John. Keep talking. I'll be right back. Keep talking.
Okay. Yeah. So what I'm telling you is I fully believe Calvin Ridley is going to be number 1 wide receiver, and I will not be surprised if Calvin finishes in the top 10 this year. I think he is on fire. He's out to prove that last year was bullshit and that he felt like he was kind of wronged in the system. He probably gambled and he did some stupid stuff, but he's out to prove something this year, and he is on a tear. And so far, the Jacksonville Jaguars can't stop saying enough about him.
Show me on the doll where he hurt you. Where did he touch you? Show me on the doll, John.
My heart.
Keep coming back to Ridley, okay? Because this is Trevor Lawrence's. This is his year. If you like Trevor Lawrence, and you saw what Calvin Ridley did with Matt Ryan back a couple years back before all this BS.
Yep.
This man could have a monster year because in camp right now he is the talk of the town.
Yep. He's head and shoulders above everybody. And then you go, they've also got Christian Kirk, who's really good last year. Mm-hmm. I can't remember who the other wide receiver, but they've got the tight end who I think they locked up for another year on the franchise tag.
Yeah, Evan Ingram.
This Jacksonville team, to me, will win the South.
All right. Okay. 21. We have a 3-way tie, and we're going to go over these real quick.
Intriguing.
Jerry Jeudy, DJ Moore, and Chris Godwin. All enigmas. DJ Moore is uber talented, but can never have the right quarterback. All right. Is this the year? Chris Godwin is always catching balls, but Tom Brady's gone now, and now it's Baker Mayfield. Jerry Jeudy was a disappointment until about halfway through last year when he finally woke the F up, John.
And boy, did he.
Of these three, Jeudy, Moore, Godwin, who do you like the most?
So I have Moore ranked higher. Because I feel like Fields has a real chance to be this year's Hurts. He's kind of going along that same, you know what I'm saying, that same projection. Part-time starter his rookie year, really good runner his sophomore year, and hopefully really great thrower in his third year. Just this
also like kind of like Lamar Jackson.
And yeah, like Lamar Jackson too. Mm-hmm. So I really like DJ Moore. I think he's sort of a piece that has been missing. And I think Moore is going to allow Darnell Mooney to actually play freer and play better, who's probably a better second receiver than he is a number one receiver. So, but having Darnell Mooney on there, they won't be able to just key on Moore. So I think for the first time in a while, Chicago's got receivers that you actually have to respect. And plus Chase Claypool, who knows what the heck that guy's going to bring, but at least he'll have a full year in the Chicago system this year. Mm-hmm. So I like DJ probably a little bit more than the other guys that you mentioned.
Okay.
Mostly because his quarterback system.
I like Jeudy the best because I think he figured it out. He got healthy, and Russell Wilson realized how good this dude is. Yeah. You know, I think that's his Tyler Lockett, right?
I agree with that. I do think he's his Tyler Lockett, and he really started hitting him in stride. And Jeudy, man, when he catches a ball in motion, like he's so smooth with that ball once he catches that ball. So I do like him. And again, I had him ranked right under DJ Moore. So,
and don't forget who the coach is, John. Peyton. And Peyton is he's good at one thing, John, creating a fantasy offense for us.
Football and crab cakes. Oh wait, that's a different movie. I'm sorry.
I believe that's Wedding Crashers. Am I wrong?
It is.
That's what we do.
That's what we do. Football and crab cakes.
If I had a fantasy team for real, like I constructed my own fantasy team and I had one coach to coach this team, it would be Sean Payton, John.
Yeah, I would too.
Okay.
He's given us many fantasy gems.
He has. So I'm really high on Jerry Jeudy. I like DJ Moore. I just don't think it's going to be as wonderful as people think again, because every year we think the same thing. DJ Moore is going to break out and go off, but it's the quarterback play. I'm not sure I'm sold on Fields as like a great passer yet. We'll see, though. We'll see.
I mean, I've seen him be a great passer is the thing. In college, he was a fantastic passer. He was a really great passer. Yeah. So it's not like all he did in college was run. In fact, he didn't run that much in college. He was actually a really great passer. So now you've got the legs. Now they've got to respect the legs. And now he's going to unleash the arm, I think. I love Fields this year. I think he's my dark horse for top 3 quarterback. So there you go.
Yeah. And then Chris Godwin, let's just touch on him real quick. It's going to be Baker Mayfield most likely winning that starting job. Yeah, he's not Tom Brady, but I'm going to be real. He's probably better than Tom Brady was last year. Tom Brady was awful last year, John.
I mean, Tom Brady wasn't good, but he still ended up, top 10?
He was good in fantasy circles because he threw the ball 985 million times, John.
Yeah, and he finished 7th. I mean, Faker Mayfield's never finished that high in his life.
No.
So, I mean, for these purposes, all I care about is fantasy. So I think Baker he's not Tom Brady. Tom Brady could right now come off of retirement, not having done a thing, go into Tampa's camp and probably win that job back from Baker Mayfield. So.
No, he can't because he bought the Raiders, or at least a piece of the Raiders. So he cannot. But I hear what you're saying. Like, you're not going to let Baker throw the ball 700 times like you did Tom Brady.
You're absolutely not. They're going to run the ball way more this year.
So there's less to go around. But target-wise, I think Godwin will be just fine. He'll be a year and a half removed from his ACL injury. So he'll be quicker, sprier.
I think he can do well. I think you'll see a decline on Evans, right? I think that's who's probably going to take the most hit with Brady being gone. Yeah. And I think Godwin has more talent and is just younger and a better athlete. Am I wrong? Is this Godwin's third year or is it his fourth?
Fourth.
It's fourth year. That's right. Third year was kind of a disaster with the injuries. But
all right.
Okay.
Pulling up the rear at wide receiver 2, our final wide receiver 2, number 24, Drake London. Are you surprised, John?
Yeah, because he wasn't on my list, so I'm a little surprised. Yeah, but he does go by my rule. Number 1 wide receivers, even on shitty teams, have a lot of value. And so I'm a little surprised in that I just don't know how much they're going to throw, right? I mean, they've got such good running backs. And it's Arthur Smith who likes to run a lot. It's Ritter who's the quarterback who I'm not sold on. Even though I loved him at Cincinnati, it's hard for me to put Drake London in this group of top 25 receivers. Not because of Drake London. Drake London's got amazing talent, and if I was just ranking on talent, he would be in my top 25. I am fearful as hell of Drake London this year.
And you have every right to be. But the talent is there. He should get a lot of targets. The quarterback has been upgraded. Anything is better than Marcus Mariota. And Ritter, when he did play at the end of last year, did look to get Drake London more involved.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Anybody on that we left off this list that you wanted to touch on before we move on?
Yeah, I put Christian Watson on this list. I think he's worth talking about. I think Jordan Love's going to look at him early and often. Often when you've got a backup player, a backup quarterback who goes to be first string, they were always playing with backup wide receivers who are also now first string, and I just think that combination continues here. I think that's the guy he's going to look for early and often, and I would not be surprised if he ends up in the top 15. And then I couldn't not include him because he just catches a lot of balls, is Terry McLaurin. I think you still have to look at him. Again, he's a number 1 wide receiver on a team that gets a lot of volume. Now you've got Jaheim Dotson there. We're not sure how Sam Howell's going to do, but I definitely feel like he's at least worth talking about.
I wanted to talk about one other guy who I think he's a prime breakout candidate because of the offense he plays in, and that's Kadarius Toney. He's got a full offseason with the Chiefs.
I actually was weighing him too,
Yeah, he's settled in. He's got the best quarterback in the game. It's best fantasy coach for passing game in Andy Reid. I could see Kadarius Toney cracking to be a wide receiver 2 this year. And he's just uber talented. Toney's twitchy. He can catch. He gets in the end zone. I really like what I see from him when he's healthy. So that's
I was going to say, but you know why I didn't put him on the list.
Yeah, because he's always freaking hurt.
Never
Cadaverous Toney.
Cadaverous Toney is exactly right. The guy cannot stay healthy.
All right, John, we did it. Our first set of rankings in the books.
Nice.
That was fun, John.
Dude, I could talk about this stuff all night. We're going to get into running backs, we're going to get into quarterbacks, we're going to have some of our outside looking in group. We got some fun weeks coming up for you guys as we get ready and gear up to get ready for this season, man.
Don't forget the divisional breakdowns too. That's coming too.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm ready.
I want to thank Jonathan Wesley Ballgame III.
Thanks, Ruby.
All right, we had a good time tonight. We hope you did too. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe,
come back and see us, people.
Comment, all that good stuff. Give us some thumbs up for that YouTube algorithm. We love you all. We'll see you next week. Aloha.
Peace.